Alright guys, you know what video this is. You clicked on the thumbnail, you see the title, you see my shirt, you know what this is. Hey everybody, it's Marshall Muck here. It's going to be my Suicide Squad movie review. That is right, I just got back from seeing the movie not that long ago. And, oh my gosh, what the heck critics, it is not as bad as you say it is. This movie, you know, it's got problems. This movie definitely has problems. Batman v Superman had problems, this has problems. But just like with Batman v Superman, with Suicide Squad, the critics are way too harsh. This movie is not as bad as they say they are. It's not as great as some people say it is. You know, like Patty Jenkins saying it's like through the roof, it's so great. It's not as great as what, you know, some people say it is. It's not as bad as critics say it is. And it's just really a half and half thing. It's really a thing that really, you have to see that there is problems, but there is great things about it. And every review I read, so far at least, it's just negative. It doesn't talk about the positives of this movie, and it's not a good review if you don't talk about both sides. It's not a good review if you don't talk about the great things, the bad things, the okay things like that. So before we get started with the review, I'm just wanting to say that this is going to be a half and half review. The first half of the review will be the non-spoiler half of the review, and then the second half will be the spoiler half where we talk all about the craziness that happened. Oh, there are so many crazy things that happened in this movie. We're going to talk about it. Alright? Okay. Alright, so let's get started. So, non-spoiler half, I will warn you when spoilers are coming. Alright? Alright, so non-spoiler half. So, the movie, Suicide Squad. You know, this movie definitely has problems. It definitely needs help. And I think that this is very salvageable. It's what we call salvageable movies, where you can basically take a movie like Suicide Squad and then really give it some big overhaul, some big kind of like, you know, reconstruction, and make it a great sequel, or, you know, or a spin-off. You know, take some characters, maybe reconstruct it as a spin-off, take you know, all of the characters and take it as a sequel. You know, whatever it is. You know, a sequel can always fix a movie. I mean, it could be worse. But I think that, you know, with Warner Brothers and everything that's going on in the news recently, if you guys have been reading the articles, they can definitely take Suicide Squad, which is, you know, most of the time really good, and change it into a really great movie. So that's what I think about that. But the news stories, so let's talk about the news stories that have been coming out. So there's these articles that have been talking about David Ayer, how he wrote the movie, how he directed, what did he do, what did Warner Brothers do, how did they go about the editing. And there's a lot of problems in terms of that stuff. I think that the biggest problems of the movie are definitely the behind-the-camera talent, which is the writer, you know, David Ayer, director, David Ayer, Warner Brothers, you know, all the studio executives, you know, things like that. You know, behind-the-camera talent that is really to blame for the Suicide Squad problems. And then there's the in-front-of-the-camera talent, like the actors, who do a really great job with what they're given. And I feel like they don't lean too much in terms of David Ayer. I feel like David Ayer, you know, for the most part, has failed. I think he tried with what he was, you know, what was going on with him during the production of the movie, and I think that ultimately it was a fail and it was a flop. But I definitely think that, you know, Warner Brothers is to mostly blame. I think we have to mostly blame Warner Brothers, and the reason why is because Warner Brothers, not only in production of Suicide Squad, but when Batman v Superman came out and it was all like, oh, horrible reviews, everyone hated it, the Warner Brothers really started to panic. And they were kind of running around with chickens without heads. They were just, you know, what should we do? Should we get this person on? Should we get this person? Should we hire them? This? Who? You know, who should we hire? What should we do? How does this all work? And I really do think that's not good for them. That's not good for the DC Extended Universe. It's not good for them as a company. And that they really need to get a good strategy. They need to figure out what works and what doesn't work. And Warner Brothers so far has, you know, had a whole team of people run the DCEU, which is Zack Snyder. I guess Deborah Snyder to some degree has helped, his wife, and because she's a producer on this movie as well. And then we have the team of directors, which is James Wan, Patty Jenkins, Rick Famuyiwa, Ben Affleck. We have now David Ayer. So there's just many people that are, you know, helping run it as a team. And overall, that's not how it works. I think that they, you know, tried with that. I think that I, you know, as a viewer, as a person who likes these movies and likes these characters, was open-minded about it. But overall, it doesn't work. Definitely not here anyway. And I think that that's because David Ayer, you know, when Warner Brothers freaked out and panicked, David Ayer panicked. And I think that he didn't know what to do. And he had 6 weeks for the script. He wrote anything he could, and I think that he was really, you know, stressed out, and they talked about how he was exhausted about making the movie, and just, you know, nervous about it, and whether it would stand up and whether Warner Brothers would give it the okay. And overall, they did. They had to. It was what they needed to do to keep it on schedule. And overall, it really did hurt the film. It hurt it quite a bit because the writing is a little off sometimes. Most of the time during the first act of the movie, oh my gosh, it's really great. There's I'm not going to spoil anything, but there's basically setups. In the first act of a movie, whether it's Marvel or DC or X-Men, whatever it is, they set up everything, So with this setup and with the opening sequence, I guess you could say, very well. It's very nice. It's very clean. It has a really different way of presenting itself, and I think that it did really well in terms of writing. But when you get further down the line to the second act, it just doesn't do very well. It's kind of like, distracted and doesn't know what quite to do. It doesn't have an overall goal. And the second act's basically a filler act. It basically acts as a filler piece, which means it's just filling in the gaps so we can get to that big third action sequence, which, by the way, has a lot of problems as well. The third act basically suffers from identity crisis. I think it wants to be this magic, big act. Of course, I'm not going to spoil anything, but you guys know from the trailers and stuff like that, the thing that goes on, like the swirling ring of trash, like Will Smith says in the movie, all that stuff. That's during, I'm not going to spoil anything for it, I'm just saying it's down the line. It's down that third act pipeline. And so it has a lot of problems saying, do we want to be this? Do we want to have all this, crazy third act? Because obviously Hollywood movies these days have to have that big, expensive third act. So do we want that? And does the Suicide Squad, do we want those characters here and doing all this? Or do we want to do something different? Because I feel like the magic of the movie, like, Enchantress and some of those elements, really, it was a problem. When you look at the animated movie, Batman Assault on Arkham, that animated movie doesn't have Enchantress. And it doesn't have magic. It just basically is kind of like a Batman movie, but at the same time, it's mostly the Suicide Squad. Batman doesn't really have a big part in it, but it works because they're not doing anything big. It's not about this metahuman, and it's not about this magic stuff that's going on. In this movie, it's basically, I'm not going to spoil it if you haven't seen the animated movie. I think you should go check it out. But it's basically contained. Whereas in this movie, it's not contained. There's magic, there's metahumans, there's Waller, there's everything that's going on, and there's so much to set up in terms of character development and in terms of which characters get what, because not all characters get a lot of screen time. So there's, with that, combined with the magic, I feel like it lost itself in the third act, and it had an identity crisis of whether or not it wanted to stick to where they were in the beginning with Suicide Squad, at the beginning of the movie, with all these characters, and really focusing on Suicide Squad, or whether it wanted to do all this magic, big, I don't know, extravagant, big third act magic stuff, at the same time being with the with the Suicide Squad. And it's not really Suicide Squad. It's really a different type of Suicide Squad, that we've seen. Like I said, the animated movie and all, the stories of Suicide Squad, it's not Suicide Squad. Like I said, it has an identity crisis. It doesn't know what it is. It doesn't know if it is the magic stuff. It doesn't know if it's, Suicide Squad at that point. It just really has a big, I guess, 180 turn. And that's not something that you particularly want, but at the same time, it does entertain you, and it's really nice. It's really great. So there's great things about it. There's not great things about it. So let's talk about the great things about the movie. There are great things about this. There are some jokes in the movie that don't land. That's another thing that, was a problem, that there were some jokes that weren't funny. But there are a ton of jokes that are funny, and I think that the characters, there's Joker, there's Harley Quinn, there's, these, Captain Boomerang, there's these characters that are really fun characters to be around, and I think that it really helps the movie at some points, but then again, when the jokes don't land, it does take it down a notch. So there's really no way to really balance that out. It's basically, it's either good or it's bad. There's no in-between jokes, which is unfortunate, but that's just how it is. Now the other great thing about this is the actors. The actors do a wonderful job. Everyone does their job. Everyone does a good standard across the board job. There are others that are that are really great and have a lot of screen time and are able to make it work and they do worthwhile. And there are other characters that don't have a lot of screen time or barely have any, and they can't really show you their talents. I guess I don't know. It just seems like that's how it goes to me. So character development wise, some people get, a good amount, some people don't. There's this one character, and I don't think I should spoil who it is. You'll probably see in the movie yourself. But this one character, but it's more of a caricature rather than character and doesn't really have a story arc. And it's really not there. That character's not really there for a reason. It's just, that character's just there, It's just part of the Suicide Squad. So it does make sense that way, right? So overall, the movie does have a lot of problems, and I think that's because of Warner Brothers panicking about it, and then leaning on David Ayer, and David Ayer not able to know where to go, what to do. I feel like in one of the articles I read, there were these editors. One that was through the main portion of the movie, and then they replaced him with another editor that came in at the last minute and kind of rearranged things. So the editing of the movie is very off. And I think that's because, again, David Ayer just didn't know what to do. Warner Brothers didn't know what to do. They didn't think they were doing it right, but then they thought they were. They had to, rearrange everything, and they thought, okay, that's pretty good. We're just going to leave it like that. And I think David Ayer is very, I think I think that he's like a responsible person, and I think he takes responsibility for that. He says that it's his cut of the movie. He, likes the movie the way it is, and overall, he was the person that really cleaned up the mess that Warner Brothers eventually made. So that's my non-spoiler half. Again, it does have a lot of problems, but the great things about it is that the jokes, there are great things about this, the characters are great, and the music, the soundtrack is very nice. At sometimes it goes a little bit too strong, but it actually really helps the tone of the film. The tone is very nice. It's kind of like a half and half between Batman v Superman and Deadpool, which is a good combination in my opinion, because you have the dark, but you also have the fun. And, the colors are great in the movie, but it still has that dark tone that they want for the DCEU. So, at the end of the day, it's pretty much a solid, good job. It's a solid, good job. You tried your hardest to be really great, but it's a solid, good job, thumbs up. That's what I think about it in terms of the business side. So that's my non-spoiler half of the review. I hope you guys enjoyed. The spoilers are coming in just a second, but what do you guys think? Comment down below for what I talked about in my non-spoiler half. Okay? Good. Alright, so 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now it's time for the spoiler half of the review. So you guys ready? Okay. This movie, Suicide Squad in terms of spoilers, has so many great things in it. I think it's just so great. I think Harley Quinn, we'll talk about all the characters here. Harley Quinn, really spot on. I think Margot Robbie did a fantastic job. There were times, again, where I feel like it was a little too strong, but overall she did a really great performance. And I think that Harley Quinn, at this point, I don't think she's ready to be a main character yet. I don't think Margot Robbie should pursue this Harley Quinn movie that she's been talking about. I think that they should really help find that character's voice and find out where she wants to go. Because the Joker in this movie, Jared Leto, I don't know. I was kind of feeling him, but at the same time I wasn't. They cut a lot of Joker out of the movie. So there really wasn't time to invest in Jared Leto's Joker. It was kind of just a really quick thing. You either like him or you don't. And at some points I thought he was very Jim Carrey. But at other points, I thought he was very Heath Ledger. So it's really, at this point, is he the Jim Carrey Riddler performance, or is he the Heath Ledger Joker performance? And it was really hard for me to get a grip on it, because he didn't have much to do. But at the end of the day, I think I'm invested in that character, and I think I want to see where it goes, where he goes, and I think that Harley Quinn is the same way. Jai Courtney's Captain Boomerang, very enjoyable. If you were watching the non-spoiler half of the review, he's the character that I was talking about as a caricature. He doesn't go anywhere, he doesn't have a story arc, and I feel like that was really hurtful to the character, and I think that he needs somewhere else to go. But I do love that he was taken down by the Flash. That was fantastic. Ezra Miller cameoed. It was spectacular. The lightning, and he was like, I was captured by like a red streak or something. Like, it was so cool. So I have to give props to that. He was taken down very gracefully. I love it. So that was great too. But again, the character just had nowhere to go. Katana, Karen Fukuhara, does a really good job here. I think I wanted to see more of her the most. She had barely, there was nearly to no dialogue with her, and she didn't have much to do. She was basically the right-hand woman to Rick Flag at that point, and I would have wanted to see more of her story. I'm glad they didn't kill her off. I feel like, she can rise up, if she has another chance. I feel like that character can really rise up to do some good. But again, there was just not enough there to really, again, like Joker and Harley Quinn, there was not enough there to really invest in the character. Killer Croc, I can't pronounce the actor's name, but he has 3 A's in his name, like his first, middle, and last. So I'm going to call him Triple A. Good enough to you guys? So Triple A did a really good job in this movie as Killer Croc. I feel like Killer Croc wasn't intimidating enough. I feel like the character really needed to go somewhere else. I feel like he can do a good job in a Batman solo movie, and again, I'm glad they didn't kill him off. I like where they left him off. I feel like he was funny at some times, and I feel like, it really helped. But he really, again, kind of like Batman v Superman, or Batman, kind of like Captain Boomerang. He doesn't really have much, room to grow, and he doesn't have anywhere to go. He's more like a caricature, but I'm glad that they included him, because that's a really good start. It was a really good start to him. So that was great, too. Joel Kinnaman as Rick Flag did fantastic. I love Joel Kinnaman in this movie. I feel like, again, they didn't kill him off either, so they can do wonders with his character in some of their movie. So he just did a really spot-on job. Viola Davis as Amanda Waller was fantastic. I feel like if I had to give someone the true yes, like the true you're the best character, Amanda Waller. I feel like Viola Davis did a wonderful job, and they didn't kill her off either. We'll talk about that during my separate video for the end credit scene. Kind of an end credit scene. We'll talk about that in the separate video. But I feel like she did a really great job, and I'm glad they didn't kill her off because she was fantastic. I mean, so great, so amazing. And then I think El Diablo. Jay Hernandez as El Diablo was really nice. I like him quite a bit. I'm sad to see him go. I thought he was a really great character. Although, his power set is very interesting, so who could he maybe come back? Probably not. He's probably gone for good this time around. But he was really great. His performance was solid, and that was a really touching, emotional moment to hear his origin. His origin was probably my favorite out of all of them. So it was fantastic. So good. So good. And then Adam Beach as Slipknot. Not so good. Adam Beach is Slipknot. Adam Beach does not get screen time in this movie. He's just like, Slipknot, introduction, gone, dead, head blown off. It was kind of like, okay, sure. He's kind of like, if you've seen the animated movie, because I will do spoilers for that right now, KG Beast is in the animated movie, he just gets his head blown off. Like, right away. It's just introduction, blown off. That's what Slipknot is in this movie. So we didn't have much to do, but in the screen time he had, I guess it was good. You know, I don't know. Sure. And then Cara Delevingne, whatever you want to say. I say Cara Delevingne sometimes, so I'll just go with that. Cara Delevingne as Enchantress, she did good for what she was there for. I mean, the villain, her brother as the villain, we didn't even get his name. I think I'm just going to call him Brother. Brother and Enchantress, they're really dull villains for the movie. I feel like they didn't do... I feel like the villains weren't good justice. You know, Batman v Superman, Lex Luthor, and Doomsday were a great team, a great pairing together as the villains of the movie. For Batman v Superman, here, I think they tried to recreate that with these two and the magic elements. But again, like I said, the magic, you know, by the end of the movie, it just is an identity crisis. It doesn't know whether it wants magic or not. And I think that the magic stuff, you know, while it was great and while Cara Delevingne did a great job, I feel like it wasn't enough to give it a solid villain performance. So she did great. I feel like, you know, this is a good start to her acting career, and, you know, with also Paper Towns. Paper Towns in this movie is a really great start for her. I think she's going to do wonders later on, and I think that she's really great. So that's what I had to say about Cara Delevingne's Enchantress. And then Ben Affleck is also in the movie. He makes, I think, 2-3 cameos? I don't know. You know, it's kind of hard to see. He did wonderful. Ben Affleck is just Batman. I mean, you can't disagree with it. It's just he's so good at what he does. I love in the vision that Deadshot was having near the end of the movie that he killed Batman, and that was really great. I just think Ben Affleck did a really good job in this movie, not only performance-wise, but just in terms of being a good performer, being a good actor. I think he did a really good job with it. I think that it's just solid. And I love the end credit scene. Again, we'll talk about that in a separate video. We'll talk about it, but I just think that he did really good there as well. I think I got all of the characters down. If I didn't, please comment down below. I'm pretty sure that was all of them, right? That was the whole squad, yeah? Pretty sure I got all of them. So overall, it's great. I think that it's a great movie. I think it's, you know, nice. It's enjoyable. It's high energy. There are a lot of problems with it, but it's still enjoyable to watch, and it's still something that you should check out. Every comic book movie, even the Fantastic Four reboot, every comic book movie deserves one chance to go see it. And I think that people are worried not only about the Rotten Tomatoes score, but about other critics' reviews being harsh and awful, that they just don't want to go and judge it for themselves. Some people are like, you know what, if that's what their critics are saying, I'm not going to go see it. Some people need to decide for themselves. I mean, they should just go, like I said, they should go see it once, and if they do like it, then great. If they don't, then not. You know, I think they need to be their own judge instead of looking for total strangers on the internet's opinions of whether or not they should go see a film. So that's my review for Suicide Squad. I hope you guys liked it a lot. I'm going to be doing a separate video for Easter eggs and the end credit scene, so don't forget to subscribe for those whenever they're going to be coming this week, I believe. And I just had a really fun time seeing the movie, and I hope you guys had a fun time watching my review. So thanks guys for watching, and I will see you guys later. Bye-bye.
Biggest boss, and I've been a trillist. I'm a bigger problem when I click with Skrillex. Kicking in the door, boy, Suicide Squad. Forgive me for my wrongs, I have just begun.
They're so intense.
Capital murder, capital letters. Yeah, she catching my vibe, but she can't fathom my cheddar. Need a couple gang members for these new endeavors. From this point on, anything we do together. Ain't no mercy.
Hey guys.
Forgive me for my wrongs, I have just begun. Ain't no mercy, ain't no mercy.